What is up, everybody? This is Aaron Haas. This is the Love Works podcast. This is a fire episode with an awesome friend of mine. He leads men of any age, of any place in life. He is an awesome guy. Hey, man, he plays the instruments, a little guitar, little bass, and he's talented at that as well. He also does some car things, and he's got a story that you don't want to miss out on. So you better just go ahead and listen to the whole episode. I'm with my guy, Dustin Spitzer. What is up, bro?
Yo, yo, yo.
That's
You know.
so good. That's so good, man.
Just coming off doing the car things and the instrument things.
That's how you know you listen to him, man. I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
dude. I love it. Dude, that's awesome, bro. So, all right. So you do you're a mechanic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that even look? How'd you even get into that, bro?
So that one's easy.
It's like we're starting to
That's what was all around me growing up.
Okay.
It was a bit of a family thing. My dad, my uncle owned a shop. Before I remember, my grandfather was a body guy. My cousins, they all worked on cars. That's what all the guys did when I was young. When I was very little, my dad would take me over to my cousin's house. They'd be working on cars, and they would literally give me like a screwdriver and a crescent wrench and just let me go play in like all the scrap parts outside. So it was just kind of what I knew, and of course I enjoyed, souping up cars and jacking up trucks and all that kind of stuff as I got older. So that's how I got into that.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool thing is, I had thought that was like, this is what I'm going to do. Right. Like I enjoy it. It's fun. Help friends out. And then like through school, I worked at like a small shop, like, small garage. This dude, Carl Franzon, legend. This old dude. I just remember when I left to go to college for automotive, right? Because my plan was I was going to own my own business. So I was going to college in Ohio for automotive and get my associate's degree in business. Well, the day I was going to leave for college, I overheard Carl. He's old dude. He was talking to a customer, and he just says, "I ain't gonna teach him nothing. I ain't gonna teach him here."
Dude, every old man.
And he wasn't wrong. That's the thing. Like 6 months into college, I'm like, this is dumb. Like I could have been learning this, and I'm paying for this.
You regret going to college for it?
No, man. Again, just I didn't finish out there. There was a little frustration on my part. I literally started college 3 weeks after graduating high school.
Jeez.
So that was the initial challenge. Was like I'm in school and all my friends are back home partying before they actually start in the fall. So
yeah.
But no, I learned some things. More on the campus side, not the academic side. So no, definitely no regrets. But the wild thing was when I left school, I got a job at a dealership.
Okay.
And about a year in, I hated it. I absolutely, and it was literally the culture.
Really?
I came from a culture of like you're taking care of your customers. These are your neighbors. These are the people and you want to do them right. Into this culture of like money. And so like I diagnose a car, right, and I take it to the service writer, and I'd be like, "Hey, this is what they got." And like, oh, well then they probably need this, and this too, right? And I'm like, "No, they don't." Yeah. We need to sell them this. And
Jeez.
So I got out of the business for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's insane too. I've got a buddy that actually does car stuff at a dealership, and so that's interesting. I love the aspect of like the smaller mechanic shops.
Yeah.
Because it does feel more like homey. It feels like you can go in there and like they're gonna take care of you. They're not gonna. Some of them might screw you over, but a lot of them seem to help you out in the best ways possible.
I'll tell everybody this little piece of advice I give, and it's real. Wherever you're at, find a local mechanic that you like and get to be friends with them. Like, no, legit, like
Nice.
like that. They will take care of you. That's what you want. You want somebody that's not going to BS you. And I don't want to blanket every dealership.
Right.
But I will say, in my experience, and most of the people I've talked to in the industry, that is their experience as well.
Right.
Just different cultures.
Dang, that's crazy. That's crazy. Did you have a wild college experience within that frame you were there?
Yes, I did. So our college, so at the time, so we're going in the Wayback Machine here. This is 1996.
Dang, not as messy. Not as messy.
It's all good. It's all good. And so at the time, there were only 2 automotive colleges in the country.
Yeah.
like you could go to tech school or you could go to college, but there were only two options for a college where you could get both the technical and the business. And they're both in Ohio.
Okay.
It was UTI, and then it was Northwestern in Lima.
Okay.
I chose Northwestern. Not a college town.
Okay.
This town consisted of a mall, air quotes. I think it had like 4 stores in it. There was a bowling alley. There was a movie theater that had 2 screens. A tattoo shop and a figure 8 dirt racetrack. That's what was in this town. Oh, and lots of drive-through liquor stores.
Sounds like where we live now.
Yeah. And our dorms were not the typical like college dorm. If you've been, I mean, most colleges are kind of a small share, almost like apartment complex type deal.
Yeah.
These were almost like duplex sized dorms. There was 6 dudes in one. So it was like it was like a big main living space. And then there was 3 bedrooms off of each one. Nice. Kitchen area. And so, and the way our schedule worked, it was almost like a work schedule. We had class 6 hours a day, and they had like morning, afternoon, and evening shifts basically with classes.
Yeah.
And one of the dorms across the circle from us had built this super dope working bar.
Okay.
I mean, you walked in and they had the bar, they had TVs, they had bowls of pretzels, they had a kegerator that was tapped. They had you paid $1 for a beer, and if you got a beer, it was 50 cents if you wanted to buy a shot. Dang. So there's nothing to do in this town.
50 cents. Okay.
Nothing to do in this town, right?
So get drunk.
Guess what we did?
Yeah.
We got done, and we had the afternoon block. Me and my roommates, which was, and I went there with 3 guys I went to high school with, so we kind of had a crew going in,
right?
And yeah, so we pretty much every day got done with class, and we'd head over to the bar at our dorm and just start partying up. And this got to be a daily thing, and that was my first experience with getting severely drunk to the point of being ill. I just remember went over there, and here's the crazy part too, is because we got to a point where it's got to be so regular, I was kind of feeling like I think it might be time to chill.
Right.
So I literally, this is the night I was like, the guys wanted to go, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go tonight.
Right.
They're like, oh, come on. I'm like, all right, well, I'll go hang with you guys, but I'm not drinking tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. I drank and drank and drank some more. We did it. Yeah. Well, it's one of those, right, where it's like, you know, come on, you have a drink. Nah, I'll buy you one. All right, fine. One. Buy me, you know, because somebody's buying you one.
Exactly.
Next thing I remember, I remember trying, I don't know how I got back, but I was back at my dorm in the bedroom. I remember I had the top bunk. I remember reaching for the bunk. And then next thing you know, I woke up on the bedroom floor.
Yeah.
Raced into the bathroom, started throwing up. I was throwing up blood.
Oh.
Yeah. So
terrifying.
Yeah. That was a wake-up call for a moment of time. Did not drink for a little bit after that.
What, have you considered yourself like an alcoholic in this time period, or just I'm just having fun?
I mean, I consider myself the all-American college boy, right? Party it up. I mean, right? That's what happens in the TVs and movies, and that's so no, my family, so I did have alcoholics in my family. Didn't know it at the time though, because it's just what we did. And I could, up until that point, I could hold my liquor. And I didn't drink every day, almost. So no, personally, I did not view myself as an alcoholic at that time. And the fact that instance was able to check me for a little bit,
right? I
think
that's crazy. Yeah. And you went back, or you didn't go back to it?
I did not go back. As a matter of fact, I not to the bar. Actually, I left the school just a few weeks after that. Okay. I finished that course, and I was just like, frustration had piled up, and then that was happening on top of it. And I'm like, this is just like, something's got to change. So I ended up, plus I was driving home every weekend. So it's like a 5.5 hour drive to Lima, Ohio.
Yeah. With the worst feeling in the world. You're probably like, I feel like I want to die.
It was brutal. It was brutal. And the drive itself was just terrible because there's nothing but cornfields. And like, this is before like a lot of the highway was upgraded at that time. So like, it was like 55 miles an hour the whole time. Was it the fastest I could go? And so it got to a point where,
faster.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
But there were just areas I had to figure out I couldn't. But so it got to this point, right, where I would start going back later and later because our classes ended Thursday, so I'd come home on Friday. I'd stay with a buddy usually, and I would head back Saturday night, and then it started being Sunday morning, and then it was Sunday afternoon.
Jeez.
And then it was literally like, okay, if I leave at this time Monday, I can get back in time for class.
Golly.
And then one week is just like, I'm just not going back.
I get that, man.
Shortly after that, I was just like, yeah.
Was it an expensive decision to not go back?
Not really. No, I'd had, well, I guess I should say that maybe my parents can answer a little bit better, but my great grandparents had put some money aside for my sister and I for school at the time. So so that was there. So I didn't leave with a bunch of like, student loan debt or anything like that.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
That's good. So you told me before this episode, you were talking about like just some life experiences you had and how you got caught up even in the drug world.
Yeah.
Tell me about that song.
Man, so I was kind of sharing. I had this this God moment, this epiphany of like, what have I done? You had asked me about being on the show, and I was like, yeah, super dope, man. I'm excited. Yeah. And then I'm driving home. I'm like, what the hell am I going to talk about?
Dude, I think that same thing every time I come on here.
What is interesting about me, right? Hey, and you're hosting the damn thing.
Exactly.
But no, it was super dope, bro, because like I got to ask this question, and it gave me pause to really look and be like, what has been significant in my life? And I really looked at it from an experiential point of view. And here's the other thing too that really spurred it. My wife always says, you have something that other men want. And initially I would always look at, it's hard to not look at it from a material standpoint, right? Like what have I built around me? Right. But the one thing she always says too is she says, you are the most patient man I've ever met.
Come on.
And I've been able to see like, it's not just things that other guys might want. I mean, they see that I've got this great marriage. I've got a great family. I've got patience. I'm able to be in a lot of places and do a lot of things and be full without being busy and be calm and be happy. And so I really stopped to look at like, wow, my life has really been, I got stories, bro.
Dude, I love
the experiences are intense. And I was sharing earlier how I can see now where is God allowed me to get almost in so many different experiences and so many different times in my life where I was almost kidnapped. I almost overdosed. I, almost was murdered. Yeah. And I guess I'll start there because that story really jumps out. So I was in a band before I was in this band.
Yeah.
So I'm on our worship team at Relevant Church now. But growing up, shout out Relevant Worship. And that's legit though.
It is. Yeah.
But many, many years before that, and I'll have to show you the copy. I have one copy left. We put an album out. I was in a band called Tetanus.
Okay.
And we got the name of the band. We started this when it was me, and four friends of mine. Two of them were brothers. And it was John and Jeff Robleski. John was the oldest of all of us. He was like 4 years oldest. We were all like 13, 14. Right. And so we got the name because, we were poor teenagers with kind of broke down instruments, and we couldn't afford to keep buying new strings for our guitars, so they would get rusty. And we would literally play till our fingers bled. So, rust, the whole, so, tetanus shot.
Genius.
So the name of the album that we put out, we recorded, it's called Dogs Run Free, Why Can't Weed?
You know, sounds like an album
And
I
look
would
where
have
we're at
listened
now.
to.
Look where we're at now.
Exactly.
So
Dude, we need this on Spotify right now, bro. Get it
man.
back. Bring them back. Bring Tetanus back.
I've got it. I've got one copy of the album still on cassette.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it's during this time we're in this band. I think I was 15, maybe. I know I wasn't driving yet.
Wow.
And we were fully living the rock and roll life. I mean, dude, it was at least for me, the sex part hadn't kicked in yet, but the drugs, rock and roll, yeah, definitely. We were getting high on the regular, alcohol on the regular.
Was it just weed, or were you dabbling in other stuff?
For me, it was just weed.
Right.
In that, interestingly enough, I look as another God moment in my life.
Right.
I have an older sibling, almost 7 years older than me, and I experienced some pretty horrific things with her friends that got into some really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Right in front of me when I was very little, and the things that I had seen that was able to give me pause in moments when I was offered different types of drugs. Different types of drugs, and even stuff I just was around and witnessed, seeing some people's reactions to like acid and things like that. I'm like,
I have done acid, and that is a crazy experience.
Yeah.
But I have been protected from a lot of other drugs, very similar to how you have.
Interestingly enough, the thing that was told to me about acid is like, acid's great, but you have to be in the right mind frame going into it.
You do.
And that made me nervous. So I'm like, there's no way.
It's terrifying. Yeah, because it'll screw up your brain.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. And I literally watched it do. We were getting ready to do a Battle of the Bands thing, and at a local high school, and we were on stage rehearsing, and all of a sudden this dude that was sitting on the seats jumped up and started screaming and ran to the walls and was grabbing onto the walls and started screaming like I'm melting or something's melting.
Yeah.
And flipped and ran out of the room. And come to find, dude like had just popped acid for the first time. And he was, yeah,
dude, you got to be in a really peaceful spot.
Yeah.
And you should have somebody with you. We watched like cat videos. We watched like random adult animation things. Like we tried to make it as curated for safe. But dude, even now I'm like, man, this stuff, I think back to it and I'm like, there's some crazy stories from things I saw while on acid. Like it's like you're in a whole different world.
I believe it.
Music though, dude, listen, I started jamming into like Walking on Sunshine.
Oh, come on.
I was jamming to that, dude. Like, but it feels like everything feels like you've listened to it for like hours. So like, but really you've only listened for like 5 seconds. And you're like, man, I gotta change it. See,
that's interesting because I felt the same way when we get high.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of similar, yeah.
So it's funny I say high because the first time I ever smoked weed, I got high. After that, I just got stoned. Right. But it's the same. We watch a lot of Ren and Stimpy cartoons.
Oh, nice.
If you're familiar with Ren and Stimpy, if not, check them out.
Of
course. Funny thing is, I watched it sober and not as funny. So maybe don't check it out. Don't check it out. Yeah. But now, so doubling back, this one specific experience. So this whole time, cool thing was I never personally spent a dime on weed once.
Nice,
but I was high every day.
Nice.
But my contribution to that was that I was I always had to go with the buyer. So I was like the assistant to the buyer. I was always like, is he cool? I was that guy. I'm like, yeah, man, he's cool. And so I'd have to go and I'd have to smoke or whatever. Interestingly enough, and I was always the one that was holding, right? Like we get pulled over and I'm the one holding. Like, crotch it. Well, okay. So yeah. That's what I get for not spending any money on it. Anyway, so we had to go to this really seedy motel, right? I don't want to give the name of it. It is still in business. But it was very much the stereotypical movie, like super shady, extended living motel.
Nice.
Yeah. So we go into this little 1-room motel to hook up, get some weed, and the oldest brother is the one that's buying, that's in our band. And so we walk in and there's like 6 people in this joint. There's a chick, and there's like 3 dudes. One dude's like just in his boxers, and another dude's like sitting on the bed. That's the other thing. Like there's like a chair and like a bed, and that's all the furniture. And then there's this little bitty TV on like a TV tray. And I just remember the movie Swamp Thing was playing. For anybody that's familiar with that, that's listening to this, yeah, it's like one of those like cult classic movies, but it's like just a really weird movie. And so the guy I'm with goes into the bathroom to do the deal with the guy, and so I'm left out in the room with these other 5 people, and the dude on the bed is like, he's on something different because he's got the shakes, and he's just all kinds of worked up. Dang. The girl is talking to herself the whole time.
Oh man, they on some crazy stuff.
Yeah, but what I remember the most, and this is where I literally was like, I'm gonna be murdered here, like I'm gonna die, is as soon as we walked in, the dude that was like in his boxers, right, and he was tatted up, and they were prison tattoos. There's no way around that.
Right.
And dude's got a knife, like a really janky looking, probably pulled it out of the ditch type, like butcher looking knife, and he is staring me down.
God.
The whole time. Like the second we walked in, he stared at me and just like did not stop. And so I just like, I'm waiting, and I just found this like sitting on the little corner edge of this bed that's in there, just watching Swamp Thing. And I'm just like, all right, come on, let's get out. And the dude just keeps, like, I see him out of the corner of my eye, he's just shifting, and he's dude, he just keeps like inching closer to me. And I'm like, dude, I mean, I'm like, I'm about to die here. It was just, I can't if I could give the environment more justice. I mean, if you've seen any type of horror flick, this was it. I mean, this was just that situation, like somebody's going down. I mean, this dude was straight out of every B-rated horror movie you've ever seen. And I'm like, it looked like he was excited, like he wanted to, like, I can't describe it, but it was like legit, like, I'm gonna die. This is it. I'm getting murdered here. And it's just like the dude ended up being about as close as we are now, and is still staring at me. And I think at one point I even saw him like licking his chops, I swear.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, finally, dude comes out of the bathroom, and I'm like, we have got to jet, bro. We got to get out of here. And that dude got up, and I'm like, oh God, like this is it. And by the grace of God only, the dude who was making a deal with said something to him and like distracted him, and I just hit the door and was gone.
Dang.
But I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah, that sounds
for weed. This is dumb.
Dude, there's some crazy stories like on people buying. Like, I don't think I was ever. I think I normally picked it up from people I knew. Yeah. But I never bought from like people that I didn't know. That's just terrifying, bro.
Yeah.
Get those deals, like, oh, you never know.
I mean, I've been in some funky places, but never had an issue with like the people until that point.
Right.
Because usually it's just like one dude, maybe 2 people, but this was like a whole, and this was just different. Like, I'm done. Because this is like one of those shitty motels. It's like the cops get a call and they don't hurry to get there.
Yeah, they're like, I don't really want to actually be here.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what bothers me. I'm like, dude, why are we? Well, it's also more normalized now. Like, you can get weed just about anywhere at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at what there's this 420 day, right? I mean, did you see like the drone footage from like New Buffalo this last Sunday?
Didn't.
Dude, my heart broke because they had cars. They used exit 1 in New Buffalo, the ramp going on I-94. They turned into a parking lot. Jeez. It was nuts. And I'm like, I pray there's this many people or more like in church today.
Right. Because that was Easter too. That's crazy to me. My mind is blown by that. And I remember even just around this area, like lines out the doors for these dispensaries, which, I mean, the good thing about weed is like you really can't overdose on it. So people's lives aren't as much in danger. But I'm just like, golly, you never know.
I know.
Never know.
It's like, what's the next thing we're going to make? Okay.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, dude. And Ugh, that's some crazy stuff. But that's so, all right. So you were in this band. What was your driving factor? You were like, when did you leave the band and for what reason? Why?
Drugs.
Really? You left the band because of drugs?
Yeah. So, and it's funny because, I've heard a wise person say one time, the very thing that attracted you to something is going to be the same thing that drives you away.
Come on.
It got to a point, I was young. Like I said, it was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And it hit me one day. It was kind of a combo thing. Two big things that changed it for me. The first thing that started for me was, I believe I was 15. I walked outside to get the mail. I got to the mailbox and I was exhausted.
Jeez.
15 years old.
Because you've been smoking so much?
Yeah. Like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
God,
and I was like, I remember thinking in myself, I got to the mailbox and I said, this is stupid.
Wow.
Like, I do not want to feel like crap. And so that really started my, like, it's time to clean up a little bit.
Okay.
Plus, I'm like, I loved sports, but I hadn't done it in like 2 years because I was too wrapped up in getting high and rock and roll.
That's real.
And I missed that. So that was part of it. Man, I really would like to still take the opportunity to enjoy some of this stuff while I can.
Yeah.
And then the proverbial, straw that broke the camel's back as far as the band. So all of our songs that we wrote, we literally just had like an old school 8-track recorder going all the time. Nice. And it always just worked out that we would one of us would just start, like I would start playing a riff. And then like our lead guitarist would just like, okay, he'd join in, and our bass player would just join in, and we would just jam, and we'd have it recorded. And that's how we wrote our songs. I mean, that's how we wrote the music. A lot of times we wrote the music and then put lyrics to it. I wrote a bunch of songs ahead and then just matched it up to some of the music we wrote. But we always had fun. We would always, we were serious to a point, but like if we messed up or whatever, like, and we just laugh it off or whatever. Nice. But what did it in was we got to a point where our drummer, so he started getting into coke. He started getting into heroin. He started getting into like weed wasn't doing it anymore.
Yeah.
So he started getting some really heavy stuff. And we were actually supposed to do a benefit concert with this band called Trip Hammer out of Florida.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be at the Elks Club in St. Joe. And there's supposed to be like news media and stuff there covering this thing. So we were kind of pumped up, right? I mean, we had a lot of local exposure. We played parties and stuff like that. And so we were practicing for that. And our drummer, who was the oldest brother, getting all this heavy stuff, started getting to like a little over the top. Like he started having these, I'll just call them tantrums. Like he would trash his drum set and just like start screaming, and nobody cared anymore and all this drama, right? And we kind of shrugged off a little bit, but then what finally did it for me is, so we're rehearsing, getting ready to play this show, and I just remember playing, and I don't know, I hit a wrong chord, I don't know, whatever, it was something dumb, and I was just like, and dude, literally, if I wouldn't have like thrown my head back, like, oh my gosh, dude threw a cymbal at me. It like matrixed past the front of my head.
That's crazy.
And I literally was like,
another almost moment
dude,
for you, bro.
Seriously.
For real.
And it was one of those, like, all of a sudden just a pin could have dropped and it would have just blew your eardrums out because everybody just froze. And dude, I unplugged my guitar and I'm out. And it was like, he do try calling me and everything. He's all freaking out. And then I'm like, no, man, this is not, like, there's zero fun to this anymore.
Yeah,
like I
ruined that.
No. So that was my last time. So I didn't play guitar again for 20 years probably.
Was your next time playing the guitar for the church?
Yep.
What a cool redemption story though,
I'm
man.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
That's crazy. So even like you became a believer. How did you become a believer in Jesus? What was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up Lutheran. It was one of those, my grandmother was like devout, right? Like she walked. There's people this day that it was crazy. My sister was just having a conversation with somebody at a restaurant and talking about this this old lady that his mom used to make him pick up for church because saw her walking every day. It was my grandmother.
Nice.
So she would walk 3 miles to church just to get to church.
Jeez. They didn't have a closer one?
No, that was it. That was the closest at the time.
Wow.
But so as a kid, I went because that's just what we did.
Okay.
Right. Like I didn't really know why we were going because, it was church on Sunday and then the rest of the week was whatever. And so I grew up in religion and when I was a kid too, we had like one of those hellfire and brimstone pastors.
Nice.
They were like, I remember being a kid and like we didn't go for a couple Sundays and like being reprimanded for not being in church. As a little kid, right? I'm like,
that's terrifying, dude.
This makes me want to come back.
Yeah. It's like I will never show my face again.
So I stepped away for a while. I never stepped away from God. Okay. I stepped away from
organized religion.
Thank you. Because it wasn't it, right? I just so I've always believed. Didn't always follow him, that's for sure, but I always believed. And so fast forward some years, I got married and then I got divorced. And it was through the divorce.
What did the divorce look like? Like, how did you come to the conclusion of divorce?
Oh, man.
And for what reason?
Yeah. So I can answer it in how I showed up and how I created this situation. And this kind of goes down another road, but definitely very much a people pleaser growing up as well, which I think pays, tribute to how I ended up with a lot of super extremely different experiences. I always wanted to make people happy. I just wanted people to be happy. So I love this Love Works title because like, yeah, man, just like I was a hippie inwardly for sure.
I love it, dude. That's good.
My dress didn't always look like it, but inwardly I definitely was like, hey, we all just get along. And so I would definitely, change a lot about me to try to fit into a certain area. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to fit in, like a lot of us do. And so I got in this relationship and it just wasn't real healthy from this. I got into it because like, here's someone who they're just getting out of a bad relationship. And I'm like, I can fix this. Like I can come along and I can make their life better. And, and not to take away from, I'm not gonna say I didn't ever love this person at all, but the initial premise wasn't right. Like it was, we were fairly young too. Not that I want to use that as, necessarily an excuse, but, I definitely wasn't mature, especially, in my faith either. So it started off kind of on the wrong premise and it was just a constant for myself. What else can I do to prove that I'm this great person? Because the responses I was getting were, I'm this terrible person. Which, I look back and I see now it's just, they're essentially deflecting on their own,
pain.
Yes. Their own experiences and pain and living that out. And so I took that on and I was constantly like, what can I do? I've got to change this. I got to do this. I have to do this. So I got to the point where I completely cut myself off from my own family. I was just so zeroed in on making this person happy. Never being me in any of this. It was, who do I have to be? What do I have to look like? What do I have to say to make this person happy? And for a long time, I threw that on them. I was like, it's your fault that I'm doing all this. And it's not. It's how I made that choice.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one, like I own that. Like that's how I decided to show up, was to try to be something entirely different. So it was never really truly fully healthy.
Right.
And then it was even like, well, we'll get married. That'll make things better. Let's have a kid. That'll make things better. And there was trials even when that, which, we did ended up, having a son. But it got to a point where, there was a lot of, drugs entered back into the picture.
Right.
There was infidelity. There was,
on your end,
there was theft. No. No, there was, man, the divorce could be a whole nother episode, bro.
I get it.
So I guess a lot of factors went into it. They were very unhealthy. The divorce itself was not pretty. There was a custody dispute within it. So there was just a lot of stress. I think I lost over 50 pounds, like just through the first couple months of all the drama that came with our situation and the divorce.
Did you ever ask the question, why didn't you fight for me?
As in like asking the other person?
Yeah, like even maybe asking yourself, like, man, did they give up on me? Why'd you not think about me in this situation? I was the people pleaser for you.
Yeah.
And you didn't give a shit about me.
Yeah, I did, but by the time I asked it, it was definitely in a very, like, my mind was already decided that this was done no matter what. So I remember there was a point where we were in the kitchen and having this argument, and they were, she was saying like, I'll change, I'll do whatever, but I was like, nah, I'm just done with it. So in a sense, it was an apology, but I was beyond it already. Like, I already shut myself off.
Yeah.
I guess to answer your question, I basically have been doing that the whole time, but unfortunately I wasn't listening for an answer. I was just reacting, hence I'll change this, because they're obviously not seeing me because I'm not doing this. It was it was tough. I felt like because I had done all the things that should have been enough. So they weren't seeing what I was doing. And there was also a time and where I was at in that space. So I had also agreed to try counseling. It's like, all right, I will try counseling out. And this, we'd already kind of, talked divorce. And we go to this counselor, and I can only state my experience of it and the facts that I saw. I fully believe that this counselor was like a friend of hers. Wow. I'd never heard of her. I'm like, you set it up. So again, this is how I created it, right? Because I was like, I'll do it. You set it up. So I didn't have any input on who we went to see. So I really can't be upset with anybody but myself. But I kid you not. So we go to this counselor, and we sit down together, and she's like, okay, here's how it works. This first few sessions or whatever, essentially, I'll have each of you individually for X amount of time. And then at the end of the session, we'll come together and discuss some things. Cool. Sounds great. So our first session, she tells us this. I step out, it's like, I'll go ahead and, we'll talk to your wife first. I'm like, all right, cool. Dude, they talk for like what felt like hours. It was probably like 45 minutes or an hour. They're talking. My turn, I go in the room, right? And she's like, so I'd love to hear, go ahead and share, where you're at right now, how you ended up in this space. Dude, I got like 2 sentences out, and I kid you not, the woman cut me off and went into like full defense of, well, have you considered how this makes her feel? Have you considered what she's gone through? I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I thought this was
counseling.
So
brings you back to that like pastor as a kid, probably.
Yeah. So I stopped talking. I was like, I literally just stopped. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, I didn't even get a chance to,
express me.
Honestly, had I had a chance to express, and had she come at me kind of the same way, I probably would have been like, at least at a space where I felt like I got a voice, and like, okay, now maybe we can consider these things. But it was like, dude, I got cut off.
Jeez.
And so I was like,
that just bothers me.
So to bring it all back through this, the divorce ended up happening. Again, this could be a whole other episode.
Bro, let's bring it back on.
Yeah.
We'll have 8, 9, 10 episodes with you, man. Come on.
It's tough. I mean, it's divorce is a big deal. I mean, it's It's not something that should be taken lightly for sure.
Oh, dude, it's a pandemic in our world.
But right. It's just that's this.
Like it's generational for my family. Like I don't know
Yeah.
a family member in my family that hasn't been divorced.
Dude, legit. I'm same.
And so, man, I'm just trying to break that tradition.
Yeah. I have my uncle had been married, divorced multiple times, and ended up remarrying his first wife after being married multiple times.
That's crazy,
dude. Yeah. So I'm with you, man. It's same. That's what I grew up in.
Yeah.
I have a cousin. I have a cousin down south that is still, praise God, they've been married since the jump. Don't ask me how many years because I'm not good with that. But
enough years,
since I was a young pup, and they're still together.
It's like
so
a week.
That could be.
Exactly.
But so it was through all this that I ended up, crazy enough, I had an aunt pass away in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
And so went to her funeral, and it was at the church that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And there were newer pastors there, younger pastors, and I just happened to get in a conversation with one of the pastors, and in that moment I was like, I need this right now. Like there's a tug here. So I ended up plugging back into my same church.
Wow.
With these younger pastors, and the messages were great. I was, every Sunday I was showing up. I was inviting friends to come along. Got back into my catechism classes that I quit when I was a kid.
Nice.
So, I was an official member of the church at that point.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, through the Bible studies and whatnot, I had this hunger. Like, this is good. I need to know more.
Yeah.
And I would start to ask a lot of questions, which great, right? Like we should all be asking questions. Always be prepared to ask questions. And it got to this point where my experience with the Lutheran church that I grew up in was very formulaic. You showed up to be taught. Questions weren't, disallowed, but there was like within our Lutheran confines, these are the answers we can give you. And we just got to this kind of an impasse with my pastors. Now we had, and I love those pastors, both of them to this day, because I'll tell you what, they spent hours of their own time counseling me.
Come on.
Late into the evenings, I was going through this divorce. I mean, and at the time it didn't dawn on me, but after, I'm like, these men have been pastoring all day.
Yeah.
Have not been with their families, and here they're spending hours of their own time with me without getting a penny pouring into me. So I love them for that. But we just came to an impasse where like my thirst for knowledge, and it just kind of they could tell like we're not going to be able to satisfy what you're looking for. So I left, and I did not leave on bad terms. It was, it was kind of an understanding, like understand. And so I was on a journey to find my tribe. And so I tried a lot of different churches, mega churches to tiny 30 people churches that were meeting in the gymnasium of a YMCA to
nice.
I'd gone to Catholic services. I had gone to Baptist services, Methodist.
Yeah. He said, I want to get every flavor possible.
I was going Baskin Robbins with church, man. I'm like, I'm gonna find my flavor.
With church,
and I was hitting them all. And I had some great experiences and had some.
Would you encourage people to do that? Go Baskin Robbins with churches?
I would, honestly. If you're at that point, if you're on a journey, if you're new, I mean, of course, I love my church. I love Relevant, and I of course I wish everybody in the world would come to Relevant Church because it's the greatest.
It really is.
But it's not necessarily everyone's church.
Yeah.
So I get that, and there's a lot of amazing churches out there. But if you're new, if you've been away for a long time and coming back, and you're unsure. Because at the end of the day, it's the message is what's important. It's not the show. Every church has a different culture, and for me, along the way, I heard some great messages, and I heard some very questionable things. And the cool thing about it too is it also created a space where I started to study more personally, to have more questions to ask, because going and experiencing different churches was like, okay, well, this one's saying this and this one's saying this about this thing. Let me dig into this. What's it really look like?
Yeah.
So for me, it was when I walked into Relevant, it was literally as soon as I walked in the door.
Wow.
When I saw the people, I'm like, bro, this is it.
Come on.
Like this was, I had a vision in my head of what church looked like.
Yeah.
And it was a people. It wasn't a steeple.
Yeah.
You know? And when I walked in and I'm like, look at all of these vastly different people.
It's the
Just
best.
from an outwardly,
it's the best.
from an outward, like I haven't talked to anybody yet, but
Yeah.
just looking at these people they did not grow up on the same block,
Come on.
but they're all interacting with each other, not this group here
And they're
this
worshiping
group here.
together.
Yeah. And they're all
Ah,
talking
yes.
about the same thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then we get into the message and funny story. So it was a youth that invited me at the time. And so we're sitting there and, you know, I see at the time I didn't know he was the pastor, but I see Pastor Muta walk in and sit down. He was clean shaven at the time too, right?
Yeah.
And so he sits down and the youth invited me. Is like, that's the pastor. I'm like, oh, dude's like 20 years old. Like, okay, that's cool.
That's awesome.
And he just looked really young to me. And I wasn't used to that. Even when I said younger pastors that I was, you know, at my other church, I mean, younger as in they were like in their like mid 30s, like, you know, 40s, that type of thing. So the message kicks off and I'm like, oh, he's preaching to me. Like,
Wow.
this is the like he wrote this message. Like he's like, I was the only person in the room. And so it just solidified, like, this is my church.
Come on.
Like, and the wild thing was, again, whole nother story of how I came. And, you know, some people have heard it. I don't know if you heard it yet. But, you know, I met my wife now, Tammy, at Relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so part of that story was, you know, we met there. It was literally logistically in the middle for both of us. Like, it's the exact same distance from her house and my house to the church in opposite directions. So I'm coming from the west, she's coming from the east, and we just met. And so, but the wild part so the youth that invited me was the daughter of the girl I was dating at the time, whose name was also Tammy.
What the? That's not great. All right. So, all right.
So
how did you even come in contact with the student?
So it was her daughter. So the girl I was dating, whose name was Tammy, it was her youngest daughter.
Tammy's daughter?
Not my wife Tammy now, but the Tammy I was dating, it was her daughter.
I see now. I'm connecting these. That's I'm like, what the
dude?
Okay.
It's wild. It's wild.
That is wild, bro.
Look, it gets wild there because here's the thing. This Tammy worked in the medical field.
Okay.
She had 2 daughters and a son that were older. The son was living in Arizona. And she drove a Ford Focus.
Okay.
My now wife, Tammy, spelled with a I-E, has 2 daughters and a son.
Jeez.
The son at the time was living in Arizona, worked in the medical field, drove a Ford Focus.
Jeez Louise, man.
So it was literally God telling me, like, you were this close, but until you gave it over to me, that's as close as you were going to get.
Golly, man.
And the wild thing was, though, so I started getting plugged into Relevant, and, you know, God started working right away because as I plugged in, as he would have it, that began to drive a wedge between myself and my then girlfriend, Tammy.
Wow.
I got plugged in the church. She didn't like that.
Yeah.
And so she stopped going. I didn't stop going.
Yeah.
And we ended up ending, but
it's crazy, man. That just tells me that you've got a type, you know? That's crazy.
Apparently
so, man.
That it's been amazing. Man, there's nothing like, it's wild. Like, you hear, I don't know. I can't say you because I don't know everybody hears. It was very fairy tale to me growing up.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very much a TV thing. As you said too, the experience of just when you come from, you know, just generations of divorce.
Right.
And, you know, mixed family and everything, like, it really just looks like it's just something that happens in the movies or on TV, but no, it's real. I mean, when God orchestrates it and you allow him to do so, dude, there's nothing like it.
Nothing like it at all.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it's wild.
Your story's crazy. So you mentioned earlier that you have been in a place of life where you've been homeless, living in your car, to you've been driving like the nicest cars possible.
Yeah.
Having high fives, handshakes, walking into the casinos. Let's hear about it, bro.
Oh man. Yeah. So part of that was the tail end of the college experience too, is when I would come home, I didn't have a place to stay.
Yeah.
And so I found myself like, even some of my like party friends were like off doing their thing. So I would just drive down by the beach and sleep in my car and wait till the next day. And, so that was an interesting time, because especially knowing that I wasn't going to be staying at the school, I'm like, what does it look like to come back? So fortunately I was able to get a job when I first came back. So I was able to hang with some friends and still kind of hang in the car for a little while until I was able to get my own place. So I went from that, and then kind of on this search when I got out of the automotive business. And I just had a couple different jobs. I worked at like a tool and die place for a little while, and just kind of oddball stuff. And then I ended up working part-time through a friend at this little store in Bridgman. And it was owned and operated by this Greek family who also owned a restaurant across the street. And that was a part-time gig, but then I ended up leaving. I think the tool and die place I was at shut down. So I ended up just working there full time. And that family took me in. Wow. And when I mean took me in, like they took me in, like they moved me in with them.
Wow, come on.
So I went from like bouncing around oddball jobs, living out of my car half the time, to literally living in this like $1 million mansion and working this store and helping at the restaurant for them. Got to a point of a couple of years, I was like GM for the store for them. The oldest son, who was my direct boss, had moved out to California for a couple of years. So I just kind of took over his operations for the store and everything. But bro, I mean, like, yeah, it went from sleeping in the car and not knowing what I was going to do the next day to like, we're hitting the clubs. We're living it up like Soprano style. I mean, we were legit like a gang walking into these joints.
Wow.
I mean, people knew us. Yeah, we showed up. I mean, I showed up getting valet service. The families let me drive their Benz to the casino.
Golly, man.
Getting pull-up, drive-up service, getting comp dinners. I mean, it was just, meeting some pretty amazing people.
You good at Texas Hold'em, man?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. We were. I got a good dude. When I learned how to play craps, it was game over.
Oh man.
But it was dope because like this store was a small store, but we sold fine wine and cigars, and so we had outside accounts. So like all like the big like golf courses and private clubs in the area, like we serviced their accounts, cigars and stuff like that. So I was meeting some pretty highfalutin people living the life.
Man. I wish I would have known you, bro.
It was wild, bro. I mean, even when I went out to California to help my boss when he was ready to move back, we were meeting with like the owners of Semco Energy out there, having dinner with them.
You got a resume, man.
Dude, it was a phenomenal experience. Everywhere we went, everyone knew us. Yeah. So at that time for me, it was like, man, this is it. Like I'm recognized, I'm seen.
Wow.
I'm getting hooked up, wearing the finest clothes, going to the high dollar stylist, getting the frosted tips in the hair and
come on,
stuff.
man.
I'm in my early 20s, right? So like this is the life. I mean, ladies are looking at me, and yeah, man, it was phenomenal. It was.
Do you miss it?
Of course, there's aspects that were great, but the thing that I didn't see at the time, because I was so bought into the benefits, what I didn't realize is I had essentially, much like in my marriage, I like given myself up. You know, even though my marriage had come after this, but I was still doing this. Here I now changed who I was again to fit this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I was literally working every day. But to me, it didn't seem always like work because they were taking care of me.
Yeah.
I mean, buying me stuff. I mean, we had, at the time we always had the best game systems in the office so man, I'd just hang out I hardly ever left the store, hanging out. But then about 5 years went by and it all came apart when I had asked for a weekend off. And I'd never asked for time off before. And so I really was like, this should be a no-brainer. Like, I've never taken time off.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go up north with some friends. And my boss was like, no. And I thought he was joking at first, right? I was like, He's like, no. Why not? I kid you not. His reasoning to me was, because if I give you 2 days off now, you're going to expect more time off in the future.
Jeez Louise, man.
It floored me, right?
That is flooring.
And he followed it up with, if we just keep going at this pace, we'll be the kings of free time when we're in our 40s. Wow. And I'm thinking, because he was in his early 30s, so he wasn't that much older than me at the time.
Right.
I'm thinking,
that sounds so unhealthy.
I would like to have some life before 40. Like, right. I don't want to be starting a family at 45 years old,
No.
No. And that was also, again, led to a wild time in my life because, I started working very young. I started working on farms when I was like 12, 13. Yeah. I'd never not had a job. Even, for a short time while I was at college, I didn't have a full-time job, but I'd never not worked, never had a problem getting a job. But this was shortly after 9/11 when the world shut down. And so I quit, right? With no real plan. I didn't have another job lined up because I was just like, whatever, I'll go get another job tomorrow. Not a problem. Bro, that didn't happen. Nobody, around. Gas stations, McDonald's, nobody was hiring. I ended up finally, after I moved back in with my mom and stepdad. So I'm like 23, 24. Right. So that's a whole thing. Like, moving back in with the rents, Yeah. That was a humbling experience. I ended up, after a couple months, got a job at the Buckle in the mall.
Nice. In
Orchards
area?
Mall in Benton Harbor.
Wow.
Which, I don't know if you're familiar with the Buckle, but I
was in there yesterday.
Okay.
I don't ever buy anything from in there, but I walked in there.
So
what I do is I'll take business cards and I'll put them in the pockets.
Okay.
Of the
Hey, that's wise.
Yeah, dude. I'm probably gonna get in trouble one day, but I never get caught. So.
Dude, I put invite cards to church and customers' cars all the time. So.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, dude. That's smart.
Yeah. So that was, again, it was just a wild experience because I was like the oldest person working there by like 5 years.
Oh, nice.
My boss was like 18. And so it was, again, an interesting experience, but, yeah,
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What an interesting, like, story you have, man. You have so much life experience. Do you ever, like, mentor people that are young?
Yeah.
Or coming out of it?
Absolutely. Interesting. You should ask that question too. As I got into my adulthood, I got into coaching.
Nice.
So I was coaching youth. Started at T-ball and coached all the way up into middle school, baseball, football. Ended up being president of the baseball organization and the football organization, and just had the opportunity. Man, that was a passion. I love that. Just come alongside these kids, because I'll tell you what, for me, again, see, and this is how it keeps showing up. The thing that you love is the thing that takes you away. I got into it because I love sports, right?
Right.
And the bonus was, like, I dig these kids.
Yeah.
But it became about the kids. And when it stopped being about the kids is when I dipped. So baseball brought me in. Baseball drove me out. Travel baseball drove me out. Let me specify.
That's a great. It's busy, dude. Travel baseball.
It's in the politics of travel sports is disgusting.
Do you feel like because they've got 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-old people that aren't even in middle school or high school yet?
It's dumb.
They're traveling. Do
It's
you think
dumb.
you don't think they should ever do
No,
it?
I think again, this culture just loves to overcompensate everything.
Right.
We don't do things 100%. We do things like 1,000%, and that's not healthy.
Real.
No, I'm not down for it. I think the best thing for kids is to have various experiences. You know, I was very blessed that there were seasons and they were fairly short, so you could play basketball and football and baseball and track, and they didn't overlap. But now it's like parents get these kids locked into one sport, and they're sending these kids all over the country to camps all year round, and they got indoor leagues for everything now. And it's like you got kids having surgeries that used to be only for major league athletes because their body's already shot. You know, it's just, that again,
it is crazy to me.
Whole another episode.
Yeah, for real.
But what I found was that just the love of working with these kids and being blessed, especially when football, man, has such an amazing staff. Like we had a staff that each had a gift that went beyond X's and O's.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew, like, depending on where a kid was at showing up, like, yeah, you got this. I got this today. It was beautiful. Like,
awesome.
To see the growth in those kids. That was the hardest part about leaving was leaving the kids. So when I first came to Relevant, actually, I dove in. I was doing first impressions, but I dove in with the youth right away. Yeah, I love seeing the young man, the Amen corner.
Come on.
Dude, when they get up and they're worshiping at church, man, I love that.
Dude, it made me cry.
I got a passion for youth as a whole. But I really have, my heart really is for the men, especially when it comes to faith and church, and just, it's where my heart breaks. You know, it really all goes back to this, hey, can't we all just get along? Like, life doesn't have to suck.
That's the truth.
We make it suck because of the meaning we give things, the meaning that we give to our experiences in life, and what we presume other people's meaning is going to be of it.
Yeah.
And that's how we show up. And not having a space to have these kind of conversations, and it starts in youth.
Yeah.
We start there and can create spaces like this to have these conversations of being real and understanding, like, your journey is not your own.
Yeah.
Man, the healing that can come, because, you know, we started touching on earlier how you just get to this point where, because the world, society, you know, because of your gender, your station in life,
right,
your surroundings, whatever it is, you can't show up a certain way, you can't say certain things, you can't be a certain way. We hold all this stuff inside because we're just told we can't share it because we're some kind of freak, or there's something wrong with us, and so it gets to this point where we get to a stage in life, and I feel like I see it more. It's something I experienced more in, I guess I would say, the middle-aged man, but now, you know, just with the way social media, and just how so much of the world can come at you so fast and so young. Because for me, growing up without social media, I was still at a point where, like, I knew the local news. Yeah. I knew about Crazy Larry that lived 3 doors down.
Exactly,
but
dude.
I didn't know that every town in the country had a Crazy Larry, and I wasn't exposed to all of them, you know.
Or that I'm the Crazy Larry.
Maybe I am the Crazy Larry. Yeah, and so sadly, you know, you get to this point in life where you've repressed this stuff for so long. There's, along the way, you've looked for things to cope, to numb, to feel better, right? So an addiction pops up, as we've talked about,
right?
And I think addiction gets stereotyped a lot. I think for a lot of people, you think addiction and you go to drugs, alcohol,
right?
No, I mean, where you can literally be addicted to laziness.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been addicted to comfort.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I will choose that over, you know, I don't want anything that's remotely hard. I'm fine just being here, being worthless, you know, like,
wow.
Because it's comfortable until it's not.
Yep.
But yeah, you just to get to this point where you've repressed for so long, you've gone through these different addictions, whatever they may be, you get to a point in life where you break down.
Exactly.
You know, and that looks different for everyone too. You know, some people it's a full out like, oh my gosh, like I'm watching them physically break down, and for others it's a slow burn, and you just fall into either what that addiction was because you believe this was the thing that makes me comfortable, so this must be me, this must be it. But it's really not. It was just the addiction. It's not you.
It's not you.
It's not who you were meant to be.
And we label ourselves with those addictions.
Oh man.
Jeez Louise, man. Anything and everything. We tell ourselves so many lies about who we are, even though that's not who you are at all. It's just what you chose to do. All right.
Yes.
And there's healing through that. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And when we share, I mean, so, I got to be part of this experience through Relevant that we now know as The Cure.
Yeah.
I got to start on this journey a few years back and went out west for it. And it was an experience where grown men, were able to be in a space to uncover all of that stuff that we've been repressing, all of the false narratives we made about ourselves, and we got to break down to the core who we really were. And we got to share and be real. And the healing from that alone, these conversations were, I thought I had done I'd done some messed up stuff.
Right.
For messed up reasons.
Yeah.
And then I got in a room with 15 other guys who knew the same thing about themselves and began to share. And I said, wow.
Thank God.
Yeah. Somebody else gets me. I'm not alone. I'm not what I thought I was, what I had labeled myself to be. And the freedom from that alone.
What did you label yourself to be?
Oh man. Worthless. Really. I was just my life was so performance based.
Yeah.
Because that was really, when I think about it, the only time I really noticed any kind of affirmation, right, was when I did something. Because especially very young, when I started in school, my family was not well off. Yeah. I went to a big school with a lot of very wealthy kids, very cliquey things. I was good at sports. I was a good athlete, but I didn't dress the part. So I never made the teams.
Wow.
Even though I could beat most of the kids on the team, but
right.
So that kind of started it, right? So I had to show up in a way that I would be noticed. And it just never felt I just always felt like the outcast. I didn't I could be around any group, but I didn't actually belong to any of those groups.
Man, you preaching to me right now. Jeez, man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really what I had labeled myself to be. And that was really the powerful aspect of it was in this room when I'm in with, 15 other guys, much like when I walked into Relevant, these are 15 guys that didn't grow up on the same block. And so to hear the same stories from people who I would walk down the street before this and go man, that dude's got it together. That guy's showing up. He's done some things right in life. Yeah. And come find out, I'm praying for you right now, brother, because you walk through things I can't even fathom. And I know what I've walked through.
Right.
So
that's impactful and that's beautiful. And honestly, that whole experience, I think it does. It opens you up. It sets you free. Some of it's still scary. It's oh man, they know this now. But it's good though. It's so good.
Well, the fear will never leave, but the good thing about that is that means you're alive because you feel it.
It's hard though. There's moments where it's I wish I wouldn't have gone through that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. And it's real.
It's real. It's real. So the other part about that too, when I went through it, again, I had gone out west. So I had unveiled all these things about me. And then I got to travel back home. And I didn't have any brothers around me that had shared this experience. So I could connect with the guys, but it was a phone call, text message. And I'm very much a in-person type person.
Yeah.
And so not having a group, close by, and then, COVID hit. So it was like, I'm super locked down. So no, I feel you, dude, because it got to a point where, my wife called our pastor and was like, hey, something's going on with my husband. And we had to get together. And, the beauty of it is the next step, the rebirth step, a lot of healing came through that. So I believe you're gonna be going through that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's plug it, man. Let's plug Unveiled. Because what we're talking about right now, people are like, what the hell are they even mentioning? Which is okay. Like, I think that's good. So kind of hit up the camera and tell them what Unveiled is and why every man and every woman should go through it.
Yep. Well, here's the thing. Before I even really go, I mean, I could tell you, yes, every man, and there is in the works also for every woman. Absolutely, I believe should go through this. I'm going to add a caveat to that, though.
That's good.
Okay. Every man that wants more for their life should go through this. Every man that knows, yes, every man that, no matter your station in life right now, if you know that's not where you're called to be, if something's just a little bit off, if you want better for your life, you need this experience. Wow. If you're completely content with where you're at, then you're good. I do not at all. Here's really the thing. This experience is this Unveiled and Rebirth experience is extremely powerful in two ways. If you're someone that wants it, that wants real transformation in your life, it's amazing. If you're good with where you're at, you do not want this at all. If you do not want your life to flourish and grow, and this is not a shame thing. I mean, one thing I heard very young, and it's always stayed with me, is it takes all types to make the world go around. And I fully believe that. And I'm not here to guilt, blame, shame anybody. If you are comfortable with where you're at, awesome. And I champion you. If you're happy and you're truly happy and you know it, only you know that, and that's great. But if you're at a station in life where you know this just is not it, and there's got to be more, yes, Unveiled, Rebirth, you need to experience this. We all wear a mask. We talk about these experiences in life when we're young.
Mine hanging on my
there it is right there.
Light, which seems creepy, but it's also just because
it's poetic in a sense.
It is kind of poetic.
It really is. We are all, and it's been said in a lot of different ways. And again, we're a product of our surroundings, of our upbringing. I've heard it said that way. We're influenced by, who raised us and that type of thing. And all these things are true. And we all have experiences. We all have trauma and drama. And we've had great experiences and things that have happened to us. And so much like myself, we let those experiences define us.
Right.
In the walk that we take. And that's when life gets heavy.
Come on.
And that's when we start to suppress all these things that are going on inside of us because this isn't who I'm supposed to be. Why am I feeling this way and these types of things? And that's why I end up with men having strokes and heart attacks at 35, 40 years old,
Right.
and because we're just living completely out of alignment. These experiences create a space to reveal the man behind the mask.
Come on.
Who you truly are. This isn't this is not a retreat. There are a lot of amazing events that are out there. I know for men, there are a lot of team building, a lot of empowerment type things, and they're great. And again, not dissing any of that, but a lot of those they're really good for encouragement and pumping you up. That doesn't necessarily last. This experience is an experience that really breaks down to the core of who you really are and gives you the tools to continue daily, to be able to process, to be able to understand. And one of the things we learn is how we wounded up
right
where we are. But we learn how to, be really what it comes down to. There's a big part of who I am is understanding who I've been this whole time. The peace and patience that I have comes from knowing that no matter what life throws at me every day, certain feelings are going to come up. But the awesome thing is I get to sit and I get to understand what those feelings are. I get to feel those feelings, and it's good.
Come on.
And I lean into that, and I get to look at, where is this coming from? Okay, let's lean into this. Let's process this.
That's good.
Let's take it forward. Let's be healthy. So I get to show up healthy for my family and for the ones around me. I've got a brotherhood, an amazing brotherhood around that, creating this space where we get to show up authentically and share these things that, I mean, I can just walk into a room with one of these brothers and they'll know just by the way I'll walk in and be like, hey, what's up?
Come on.
And we can talk. And it's the freedom. I mean, there is a literal physical weight that you will feel come off your body going through this experience. It's going to feel like a lot getting piled on in the initial, in the startup, but at the end of it, the freedom is beyond words. It really is beyond words.
That's beautiful, man. You can find this at the website for Relevant Church is relevantchurch.cc, I believe.
Yep. This is relevant.cc.
This is relevant.cc.
Yep.
And you'll be able to find these events when they're coming up in real time. So
or find me. Find me
Dustin if he's here.
I'm on the socials. Find me on the socials.
Yeah, man. What's your social tap?
I'm on Facebook, Dustin Spitzer. You know what? I'm not gonna lie and tell you what my Instagram tag is right now because I can't think of it.
That's the funniest thing in the world. That's so real.
Okay, so
that sounds
I'm
like
not a boomer, okay, but I'm still primarily Facebook.
Yeah, dude. Millennial it up, bro. Millennial it up.
No. I'm Gen X.
Oh, is it Gen X?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm the tail end of the Gen Xers, so yeah.
Is it millennial, Gen X, and then boomer?
Millennial, I think it's Gen. Is it Gen? That's a great question.
I don't even know, dude. I don't even hardly know what they are.
Yeah.
I think I'm like maybe near millennial. I don't know what I'm at. I don't even know. I know I'm a Gen Z, or I think, but I don't know. I don't know. All right, so this is my next question, man.
Yeah.
What's the story that someone needs to hear, but you're terrified to tell it?
That's a great question. Because it's a great question. It's a difficult one because by the grace of God and this experience that I've walked through, I'm not terrified to sharing my stories anymore.
Come on. I love that.
So, man, what I can say is this. You're sitting there right now listening to this conversation, and I promise you, you're thinking that, sure, you've done some wild things, but I can promise you they're not as crazy as what I've done. You're sitting there right now thinking I've done some things that probably should have put me in prison. I've done some things that are absolutely shameful and disgusting.
Same.
And I'm not worth really anything.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, if people knew about these things,
Yeah.
I can't even fathom what would happen to me.
Yeah.
I might lose my social status. I might lose my marriage, my relationship. My parents might disown me. I might go to jail. That is not who you are. That does not define you.
Come on.
It does not get to own your life. I've seen real transformation from taking ownership of these things and being vulnerable and being authentic with it and talking about it. And I promise you, you are not alone.
Come on. You are not alone. Come on.
You may have been literally, not even figure, you may have been literally dumped on the side of the road and left to your own devices at some point in your life. And I can only even fathom the impact that would have in self-worth.
Wow.
Again, I promise you, I can connect you to someone that can walk alongside you with that. I can tell you right now. Between myself, brothers I know, stories, experiences I've shared, you are not alone. You are not alone. Whatever that worst thing is you're thinking right now, you're not alone. And there's victory on the other side of it. There's freedom on the other side of it. It does not define you. I've drugs, alcohol, theft, lots and lots and lots of lies. I've been, near kidnapped, been near killed. None of those things are me. It wasn't who I was that a dude tried to grab me and snatch me up off my bike off the road. It wasn't because of who I was that the guy at the motel looked like he wanted to cut me into little pieces and eat me.
Right.
That was not me. When I stole, that was not me. I had an excuse. I had a reason for it at the time. But it wasn't me. And I don't have any shame in any of those things.
Wow.
I've been able to process them. I've repented many times.
Yeah.
But I'm not even gonna, not even to come at you because I promise you, if you're sitting there right now, and this is not a churchy thing. I'm not up here, preaching
I tell
to you.
everybody that comes on here and the people that are listening, this is not a Christian
No,
podcast.
this
We
is
will
not-
say anything,
yeah.
and we're as real as it can be.
Yeah, I love Jesus, but that doesn't mean that, I'm not telling you. I believe in Jesus and therapy.
Come on. Yeah.
It's both. And wherever you're at in your belief system right now, I also do not believe in judgment. We are not called to be judges. And so again, I promise you, there was someone that has walked through what you are walking through right now and has come out on the other side.
No matter how niche it is.
Seriously, yeah. Yeah. I've heard some things. Man, that's the hard part. I don't really want to share them because they may be listening, so I'm not going to share their stories. But I promise you, as you just said, I love that you said that. Whatever the wildest thing you could think of, and look, we're in the internet, social media age, so you probably saw it on the internet somewhere today.
Right.
somebody's walked through it and they're on the other side of it. So I encourage you wherever you're at.
Also, for the people that are listening and they see those things and you're the one judging them, like I am actually begging you to not. Like, why would you put yourself? Because think about it this way: if you're putting yourself in the position where you can judge them, oh, all right, go ahead and put on paper everything you've done. Let's go ahead and let's judge you too, because that's just not fair. Like let's break down. Let's actually break down shame by being honest. So you share your things, let them share their things, and boom, now let's live in community together. That's the beautiful thing about just Unveiled for me. I'm excited about Rebirth because I'm excited about some healing with it.
Come on.
But like, hey, me and you, we're not too far off from each other. We've both done some shitty things.
No, that's real. Yeah, I love that you said that, man. And that's been a huge thing too. No matter how another person shows up in my life, even how they respond to me, man, I come at it with pure empathy.
Come on.
You know,
come on,
especially if it's somebody I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at in life. I don't know what they were going through 10 minutes before we had a conversation.
They might have been in the same thing they're holding shame on to 10 minutes before they
Can I tell you 90% of the time that is the case?
Yeah.
When people are quick to cast judgment on someone, they want to deflect off of their own self-prescribed guilt and shame over that very same thing.
Ooh, come on.
So let's cast it off onto someone else.
Yeah.
So then I'll feel, because it's easy. It's easier to feel more comfortable about my mess by bringing other people down with me.
Yeah.
Than to actually want to improve my station.
So good. Have you ever seen Survivor?
Early on.
So I think it's so unique you say that, because like the people that know they're on the bottom, they're throwing everything out there at other people just so that they can get back in the game, hopefully. Wow. And so like that's life in general. But when you put people in those tough spots where the spotlight's on them and it looks like it's bad for them, oh, guess what? I'm going to get the light off of me and make sure that person goes down instead of me.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's real. And that's sad, because that is definitely my struggle. That is where there's constant processing for me. And especially being a dad, you know, our youngest now, he's 17, and coming up in very much the social media age where the influences, you see, you know, the stuff that gets ratings, this is not real, people. It is not real.
Yeah.
It is not how you live life. Reality shows aren't reality shows anymore. Okay. The only reality show to me might be like a good documentary, but
right.
No, man, come on. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. Man, it's tough, man. When you become a parent, your world view really shifts. Because you look at how the world's coming at this thing that you love and want to protect so much. So yeah, that type of stuff, man. I'm backing you up on that 100%. If you feel some kind of way, if you feel like, look, if you're on social media and you see somebody post something or share something and you feel like you need to go on there and tell them about themselves, pause for a minute. Take your own inventory, like Aaron said.
Yeah.
Write down a few things about yourself that, you know, you might not be willing to share about, you know, on social media. You know, I champion, you know, granted for me, I see people post stuff where you can tell they're baiting. They want to kind of start something.
Right.
But then there's some people that just will share some real stuff. They're just at a point, you know, I've seen people share, look, you know, I'm not really one to air my business, but I don't have a community. I don't have people around me, and I'm going through these things.
Come on.
And I love to see that. Like you're at a point where I could easily just continue to internalize this stuff. I could act on whatever addiction I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
But no, look, I know this is a long shot, but I'm just going to throw it out there and pray that someone will hear.
Yeah.
You know, I love to see that type of, you know, authenticity. I mean, I legit just saw a post yesterday in like a local group, and they were just straight up like, you know, they said, I don't know if this is allowed here, but I'm just really hurting right now. I've been new to the area and I don't have anybody. I'm just looking for a community. Like,
Come on.
I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
You're honest.
yeah. And if I'm going to, the funny thing was though, where I have to catch myself where it gets hard is that I'll look at the comments because, and I've told my son this, you know, since as far back as I remember, I try to get this, this one thing through his head and I feel like it's sunk in. There are just negative people in this world. The world,
It blows my mind too.
the world is purely evil at
Yeah.
its core. I mean, we're all born in sin and shaped in iniquity. And so sadly, I told my son, I said, there's just always going to be negative people no matter what.
Right.
And negative people love socials because that's where they really get to just, you know, live and thrive in their craft. And I said,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter what you do. You know, you could get on and, you know, post that, hey, you know, just want to celebrate my family. We just were able to donate $1 million to this charitable organization. And somebody will get on and say you're a piece of crap because you didn't donate $1,000,001.
Exactly.
They're just going to be out there. So that's where I have to do a heart check and catch myself because that's where I want to go into.
Let me beat you up.
Right. Like because
Yeah,
I like to champion the little guy, you know, because I was the little guy for a long time, the underdog. So that's where I have to check my heart. And so what I would do in those situations when I'm like, ooh, I want to come at this person and tell them they're a piece of crap for being like that, I say no. And I just ignore that. And if I'll just respond to the person that posted, you know, give them a shout, give them a encouragement, offer them, you know, hey, I might know a resource or something like that, you know, just start the conversation and keep it positive because you're never going to outwit or out argue, you know, the negative. The best thing you do is
neglect it.
That's the best thing you can do is just don't give it a voice. Or I guess don't give it an ear. Don't allow it to have a voice, you know, for each of us. I mean, we can't, you know, take that on as a whole for everyone, but me personally, I can choose to not respond to those things.
Come on, man. I freaking love that. Yeah. I love that. Man, I love that because it's that alone sets up the person that feels like they're stuck for success. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was talking to one of my guests that I had on recently, Hannah. Like we had a conversation about just alcohol and I was like, man, like you alone, your story, I relate to. I was telling her that. And I was like, tell me, I want to know everything about your story because I know that you have something that's going to impact people. And she told me like on the episode, she's like, yeah, I actually relapsed after that conversation. And I'm like, that's okay. Like you still are able to impact people one day after the relapse.
Come on.
Because somebody's still in the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're able to say, all right, now I'm one day out. And now she's like, I don't even know. It's like 100 or so days sober. And I'm like, shout out to you.
Day at a time.
One day at a time.
I'm sober today.
Yes.
Yep.
And all right, cool. Alcohol. Great. That's like, let's just start naming things off. We call you can't heal what you don't reveal.
Come on.
And so you got alcohol. Oh, cool, man. I'm able to start healing from that. I'm addicted to that. All right, pornography, graphic pornography. I'd be able to heal from that. Let's start talking about the things that we're addicted to in that. All right, this is my niche. All right, yeah. All right, I'm able to heal from that now. Now you got brothers surrounded around you that are willing to say, guess what? I'm the same.
Come on.
Man. I love it, bro. And all right, cool. Like people, I've told it on the podcast, cross-dressing, bro. Can't heal what you don't reveal. I told myself I was going to bring that to the grave. My mother wasn't going to know that. But I'm like, you know what? There's people out there that are doing the same thing.
Yep.
As believers. That's where I was at.
Oh, man.
As a Christian, I was addicted to it down to the point where it was like, even... I'm not saying names because I want to protect people, but like I would be at my friend's house and even like I was driven by being, by like, even like his family's clothing. Like that was what it was for me. I wanted that. How can I find myself in a in a place where I can feel good about me. I wanted to feel good about me. So I was like, let me change me.
Yeah.
Let me change me. Jeez, come on, let's start revealing things.
Come on.
Text it to your friend. Call somebody right now. I don't even care. Hang up this episode. It doesn't bother me. Like, I want you to say, I'm going to take action for me. And now I'm preaching.
Hey. Preaching,
Jeez
man.
Louise, man.
It's on your
I'm
heart.
just passionate about it. Like,
Hey.
we need vulnerability in this world.
Absolutely.
That's what's relatable.
And you touched on a big one. And I honestly, I personally believe porn addiction is greater than drugs and alcohol.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%.
I mean, and it is crazy too, because within that, I mean, I was exposed to porn super young.
Yeah.
Dude, there may be, I don't know, if there's any viewers, if there's any Gen Xers watching this, you'll remember the Commodore 64 computer. That's back when we had these big old 6-inch floppy disks you put in. You had to type in this like 17-mile long code to get the computer to fire up. And it was all like dot matrix type stuff, you know, super low key graphics. But I remember being a little kid and sleeping on the couch in the living room because I don't have a bad dream or something like that. Yeah. And waking up and my dad had downloaded like dot matrix porn pictures. I was watching them like in the middle of the night. And then like he had a whole stash up in his room that, you know, me being again younger, almost 7 years younger than my older sibling, and my cousins came to stay with us in the summertime. Yeah. And they found his stash, and I was always wanting to be around them, right? Because they're older and they're cool. Right, and I remember going upstairs and they're all got all the magazines out and everything. And they didn't even tell me to go away. They just said, don't tell dad. So like, dude, I was in it. I was finding out things about my body feeling good when I was like 6, 7 years old. Jeez, man. Because it was just so in my life. And
it's hard to break.
It is. Because I mean, there's parts that make you feel good, but you know, and you don't realize all the damage it's doing.
Dude, it shuts your brain down.
Well, even just the false reality that it creates in your mind of what, I'll just say, intimacy is supposed to look like is so wrong. And, you know, like you said, with the niches in that, and, you know, it's insane. I mean, it is so, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Yeah. Dude, I can't even, and this is the wild thing, right?
Corrupt multi-billion-dollar industry.
Here's what's crazy. And I got there's so much around this, even to this day. So I battle with it for so much of my childhood. Yeah. You know, again, it was in my, like alcohol, it was just there. You know, it's just what the family had it.
What you do. Yeah.
I actually remember my stepbrother and I, I think we were like 13. We had got a whole bunch of porn mags from like my buddy's older brother, and we were hiding them in empty cereal boxes. Nice. Up in the loft of the garage, right?
That's awesome.
Like nobody had been in this loft since like the house was built. Yeah. And of course, like that week, my dad and stepmom decided they were going to clean the loft out.
Oh, that's how it goes.
And so, right, they did the whole production, and they had these sitting out on the table, and we did talk to you boys about this, and this is bad, and shame, and guilt, and this is no good. That son of a bitch, my stepbrother and I found all those magazines in my dad's drawer the next day. I'm like, come on, man. But just battling that for so long. And then, you know, I got to a point in life where I really was completely away from it. And managed to, you know, was nowhere showing up in my life. And then I kid you not, man, and that's again the crazy thing about social media and just all the AI and the algorithms and all this kind of stuff, which kind of blows my mind, because I get when I'm like looking stuff up or talking about like the red dress, right? You know, we talk about that stuff. But literally, these conversations are not happening in my home. I hit 45 and all the ads on my social media like changed. Wow. Dude, I kid you not, having no conversations about this stuff. And all of a sudden I'm getting ads for like ED stuff and all this kind of men's, which I can't. But now I'm literally like, I'll just be scrolling Facebook, straight porn ad. Like two people just going at it. I'm like, how is this
allowed on social media?
Yeah. And how is this? And of course, it even goes deeper with me. I'm like, how Facebook, you're going to get mad at TikTok for not being able to filter their stuff, but then
you're creating some nasty stuff.
And I report these things and they come back and say, we didn't take the ad down because it didn't, you know, exceed the guidelines. So like
People will die on these. Like, they will have people dying, getting shot
It's
on
nuts.
these. And I'm like, what?
It's nuts. I mean, it is extremely, I won't say impossible, but man, it is extremely, extremely difficult to get away from. And this is crazy. And I hate to, I hate to sound like the old man in the room, but it's funny to go back in time to when like our grandparents wouldn't allow our parents to watch Elvis because he was too provocative. They wouldn't show him below the waist on TV because it was too, and you just turn on a regular TV show now and it's wow, it's nuts.
It's way worse than like it blows my mind, which makes me wonder, like, should we be more sensitive like those grandparents were and be like, you know what? I don't want to put myself in a spot where even Elvis might not be doing something wrong, but I don't want to find myself watching that.
That's a real question. And it's a real challenge because if you look, interestingly enough, even though you talk about like weed being legalized and stuff like that, but when you look from a marketing standpoint, you even look at how now you don't see alcohol is not advertised like it used to be constantly. I mean, big event stuff like that, and you see some random ads. Cigarettes don't get pushed like they used to.
Yeah.
So we got all these regulations against all these chemicals type addictions, but dude, the flesh industry just explodes. It just never goes back. It only gets more and more.
It's worse.
Yeah.
Jeez. Golly. Oh man, I could talk for days with you, bro. This is just good stuff. I have a tradition on this podcast where I open it up for my guests to ask me any question, unfiltered, uncut. And so I want to give you that opportunity. What's your question?
Right on. My question is, what is your true heart desire?
Geez, great question. My heart desire is people to see freedom. Like, I want people to be able to walk around in their life and say, you know what? I don't care what I've done or who I am. I can be acceptable in this world and be loved. I mentioned some of the people I'm planning on bringing on. I don't want to spoil it, but like, I've got a heartbeat to bring people on that I probably am going to get more backlash for than I could ever imagine. But I'm like, that excites me because we're going to break the mold.
Come on.
I also have a heartbeat for like, okay, cool. People say you're unhireable. Let's actually create a job for you. Because I'm not far off from who you are. And I just, my mom, so I've mentioned this before. My mom actually has, I stole the name basically, Love Works, but her ministry is called Love Works.
Awesome.
And it's a homeless ministry. And my heart for people really grew because of her. Because like she would have phone calls from people at any time of the day. Hey, I don't have anywhere to go. I'm homeless. I haven't eaten. My kids haven't eaten. Why can't, like, do you have anything we can do? And my mom would put people in hotels for months.
Wow.
Until we could help them find a home. And she's pouring into them. We're having these people over for dinner. And it's like, okay, my mom was breaking the tradition. I've lived in the South. You don't do that. It's your family. You have your family and you might have a friend over.
Sure.
And so I just love, I want to bring people together and say, let's worship together.
Come on.
So I've got dreams of buying huge properties, huge hotels, and let's just house people. Let's live life together.
I love it.
And, man, yeah, I mentioned, I could talk for hours, but like, I mentioned it on another episode. Like, I want people to be questioning, why does Aaron Haas look weird? Why does Aaron Haas smell weird? Why does Aaron Haas like sound like that? And I want to be able to say it's because I've been around people that aren't hiding. Like, oh yeah, I might smell funky because I'm around funky people. Maybe stop putting all that cologne on.
Come on. Dude, I gotta share. I took a line from you, and I don't know if you grasp. So I want to share the impact, like as a whole. Like you made this statement in the moment, and I don't know if you realize just how impactful it is on a greater spectrum. But I think it was at rehearsal one Thursday or something. We were talking about different fits. And I always love, your different, the look you get going on.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I might have been the one that said it, I think, or somebody in the group. I feel like it was probably me. That's why it stuck so. But I said something, man, I wish I could pull that off. And you said the most freeing thing to me in that moment. You said, just wear it.
Yeah.
Bro, I have taken that, like I've shared that with people in so many different situations. When they're just talking about, anytime somebody says, man, I really wish I could do that. I'm like, just wear it.
Just do it.
Just pull it off. Just the freedom in that.
There's so much freedom in it.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry about people's judgment.
Exactly.
We do that enough, bro.
I know. Like just
I worry about my own judgment.
Come on.
I judge myself probably more than anybody else is gonna judge me.
We're terrible. So I love this. I love the title. I love your passion. I feel like I knew the answer, but I wanted you to share it because I love that idea. I mean, it just, when I see people feuding in this life over the dumbest things,
come on,
I just think, why?
Yeah.
There's an easier way.
Yeah,
there's a more peaceful way about this. Do you know
win?
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know that, we can bet on black and both win? And do you know that, like, you don't have to live with anxiety and stress every day?
Come on. And dude, that's literally why I was like, I've been telling so many people, I mean, dude, I got Dustin on the podcast. This is going to be awesome. And it's because I see your heartbeat and the things that we care about are so similar.
Oh.
And I'm like, this is why this is going to be good.
Yeah.
Dude, you're a fire guy. And dude, you're going to come back probably 20 times. Like, I just am so passionate about this.
Real talk, man. We want to do I think the divorce thing is a big one.
Oh, dude. And I could talk on that for days, even from the child's perspective.
Yeah. We share that too. Growing up in it. And real quick, I just add, did you ever tell yourself, I'm never going to do that?
Never going to get divorced?
I'm never going to get divorced.
I have told myself that for sure.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Yep. I told myself all the things I was not going to do that I saw being done around me that were no good. And quickly learned that I ended up doing all those things.
Wow.
I said I would never smoke. I said I would never drink. I said I would never get divorced. To the point I even said, I'm never going to have an apartment. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to buy a house.
Yeah, I told myself that too, actually.
Yeah.
And now I'm literally recording in my apartment.
Here's the thing. It's the things we focus on is what becomes.
Wow.
So no matter the energy we put behind it, if that's our focus, we create it.
Damn.
Yeah, bro.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Golly, I'm about to just like, oh man, this is just, I'm telling you, guys, if you like, even if you've listened to this whole thing, you need to go back and listen to this episode again and just like soak in this.
Yeah.
Because what we have happening right here, right now, it's so real and it's applicable to whoever you are.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you feel like, I've had good parents, I've got a good, but you've still got mess. Let's just be real.
Yep.
Can we be real?
Yep.
Because that's what matters. So, man, oh golly, you're coming. I'm just telling you, you're coming back on, and we're gonna talk some more. We're gonna talk divorce. We're gonna talk everything.
Let's do it.
So man, this has been a great episode with my friend Dustin. Check him out on Facebook, Dustin Spitzer, and Instagram if you can find the mystery account.
It's Spitzer something.
It's good, man.
It's on there.
Yeah, it's there somewhere. But yeah, this has been a great episode. Check us out on Instagram at LoveWorksMVT.
Yeah.
Follow us on TikTok, the same at LoveWorksMVT. Subscribe on YouTube. Just like this. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Music, all the things. Just do whatever it takes to make sure that this gets out there to other people. Share it with a friend because this right here is impactful. I love you a bunch. Thank you for listening. Peace out.